Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody. How are we all?
Does it every time. Every time you go to say something. Yeah, every time.
I forget about it until the next time. So I suddenly did it. And I thought, I bet I've done that thing again. But I don't even know what it is I'm doing.
I don't know either. I think it's just because it's Discord, and it's just the fact the audio is only so good in Discord. So there's only so much we can do about it. But we record it for the podcast in better quality, so that's where it counts.
Okay, so and I normally cut that bit out anyway. So, hello everybody listening on the podcast later, and welcome to everybody listening live. Sterling Northam, hello, the silent partner routine. What does that mean?
Yes.
Is one of us quiet, or is it just...
I think it's because when you come in and you say hello and it doesn't do anything, it's just you go...
Oh, I see.
Just silent.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably how Pete prefers it, actually, not being able to... High but low sounds, Biffo says.
If only I knew what that meant.
That's profound. That's profound, Biffo 1960.
Unfortunately, the audio on this, because we're recording it for the podcast, the audio on our live stream on YouTube isn't as good as our podcast will be. But hopefully, it will be good enough for the live.
But you do get to interact live and get mentioned on the podcast for the literally tens of people who listen to it.
Tens and possibly, it's probably better actually.
But I would say tens might be an exaggeration. We haven't done one of these for a while due to holidays and other things. You've been a bit poorly.
I realised I flashed our names that podcasters can't see, but we're sitting in the wrong position, so it's got the wrong names there. I'll have to do something about that, but not for now.
Robin's the handsome one.
Never mind.
I'll let you decide who is who. The dynamic duo are back in action. We're here. We haven't been on the YouTubes for quite a while. Because
we haven't. I don't know if our numbers will be any different. We'd already have 10 people on here, whereas we would probably maybe get 10 in total on Twitch. So maybe YouTube's is where our people's is at.
Yeah, I think the switch to Twitch was probably a bit of a stitch up for us. Yeah. So we're back on YouTube and on the podcast, so we won't keep talking to you YouTubers. Well, we will keep talking. We won't go on about YouTube too much because podcasters don't care about that. So we're back for a while. You've been poorly, Pete. Are you back fighting fit now?
Sort of. I'm like 80%.
Fighting unfit.
It won't go away.
Right, okay.
But never mind.
But we have been doing some live stuff. We met up last Thursday and we played on Undaunted, the excellent Undaunted. We also played Cascadia, which I think is a really great board game. I don't know how well it translated into a visual experience, but it's a really great board game, which I'm actually going to lend you, Pete, when I go off on my holidays.
I'm looking forward to playing that. I enjoyed it when we played it, and hopefully people enjoy watching us play it as well. So
yeah, I think it's a cracking little game. So check that out if you haven't already. It's in our live stream feed. You can see Cascadia, which did just win the Spila Desiara. I don't know how to pronounce it. But the player of games or something, the game of the year, German game of the year. So which is the big event, big award. So really pleased to have played that. We also we played a bit of Undaunted, which I've already said, and we've since we last spoke on live chat on the podcast, we've done 200 hours, another World War II game. So Undaunted and 200 hours are World War II games. The 200 hours is a skirmish miniatures game, and Undaunted, if you haven't played it or seen it, is from Osprey Games. It's a clever little deck building mechanic with tokens, and it's a really nice game. I'd actually love to see some sort of hybrid Undaunted at 200 hours with miniatures and deck building. That'd be pretty sweet on hexes, Pete. Hexes.
And it's worth pointing out actually that we're back on the stream, we're back on YouTube, but we've changed the stream a little bit. This is the Shiny Games Roundup.
Yes.
Which is it's not just about games, but that's part of it.
Yes, so we were trying to think about what are we about, what do we like, what do we play, and it tends to be we like whatever the shiniest thing that catches our attention at any one time. So we've called it the Shiny Games Roundup, in which we talk about all the stuff that we are interested in and have seen and are very excited about, and we'll probably have forgotten about by next week. But we're going to try and also not do that anymore and try and focus on a few things. But inevitably, we will be distracted because, particularly me,
Yeah.
I've got very, very short attention span.
It's just the nature of it. I think it's just the nature of the hobby. It's one of those things. I feel people tend to go one of two ways with it. They either focus on like one thing, like 40k, or a particular army, or a particular game like Warcraft. Saying is their jam, and that's it. And that's all they care about in the world. Or you're at the other end of the scale, a bit like us. For the most part, it's just like anything shiny. It's just, what's that? I'll pick that up.
Yeah, I think basically, I think we should. I think we might do a whole podcast evening to it, devoted to that kind of new versus old thing. But anything shiny is exciting. So I've suddenly decided that I absolutely must have the Lion Rampant rulebook, which has just come out from Osprey Games, which is historical warband skirmish-sized games. I must have it, so I bought it. I'm gonna probably order some miniatures that I might paint, and I even might play one day. But that's just hobby life. As Sterling Norton says, he thought we were all the same way. James Powditch, hi James. He says he's looking forward to Undaunted Stalingrad. Me too, I think. Although it's got a hefty price tag, but it looked pretty cool. I don't know if you saw, Pete, some of the Gen Con. Osprey were at Gen Con and they were showing off bits of it. And it looked pretty cool.
It's a bigger box. It's a much bigger box. Yeah,
because it's about not quite 3 times the price, but it's getting towards 3 times the price. But I've also I listened to the Rest Is History podcast, and they have just done an episode on Stalingrad, and there was this place called Pavlov's. I've forgotten what it's called now.
Pavlov's house.
Yeah, Pavlov's house, I think, and it's right in the centre of Stalingrad, and was used as a sort of strategic point, and that. I was learning all about that, although I can't even remember what it's called, so I didn't learn that much. There was a picture of it on the board on Stalingrad, on the Stalingrad game. So I'm actually quite keen to get hold of that. I'm going to sneak out a little request to Osprey and see whether we can team up to do some stuff. I'm not sure we're big enough to attract their attention, but you never know. So we'll see.
You never know.
No.
I loved reading about Stalingrad, and that kind of stuff all really interests me. And Pavlov's house, it was just insane to read about it. How the Germans spent so long trying to capture that position, and so few Russians held out for so long and caused so much damage to the German army throughout the whole of that siege. It's just. I mean, I think I read something about at one point in between during the ceasefires, they had to go up and push all the bodies away because there were just so many bodies piled up. They couldn't see anything anymore to be able to shoot people. It's like, that's just crazy.
I haven't actually read much about Stalingrad, so I knew this podcast episode. If you're interested in it, Pete, I recommend you listen to it. But it was an eye opener for me.
It's just crazy. It's just so unreal in some respects. But yeah, it's fantastic. I am looking forward to that, and I'm keen to see what makes it cost that much money, basically.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's going to be more scenarios, more boards, maybe a little house.
I'm hoping there'll be tanks or something like that. I don't know.
Well, that'd be quite cool. So
siege weapons.
What else have we been doing in this shiny world in which we live? As I said, we've moved to live stream games, so let us know what you think about that. It's a bit of a departure for us. I think Pete, after all these years, perhaps was getting a little bit fed up of doing so much editing. But this way, I think we can bring more games in a more immediate way to you. I don't think people like watching them as much, but I'd love to know what you all guys think, and whether you want to see more games and all that kind of stuff. So do let us know what you think of them. Do let us know if we can improve them. Pete has a few whizzy ideas to kind of liven up the streets. Pete, I don't know if you've got any you can demonstrate with there that might give an example.
Some things for when we're playing live. There's some blood splatters like this, just blood splatter over the screen for when we get things killed. A lot of it's just popping up begging letters asking people to subscribe and support us and check out things. So do check those out if you're enjoying what you see and
if you want to support
all that kind of stuff.
We do exist.
Sorry?
If you want to support us, we do exist on Patreon, and you can for all the t-shirts and all sorts of things like
and
that.
Teespring, yeah. And there is Agents Con 22. Ta-da!
Whoa! Woo! I'm quite excited about this, yet also slightly terrified, and also have done absolutely F all about it. It's all mainly Pete and Aaron from Will and Games who've been doing the organising. I've just been doing, that sounds like a good idea. So Agents Con 2022 is in Market Harbour on the 24th of September. We've got a limited number of tickets available. for £5 each, or they're free if you sign up to our Patreon, even at the $2 level. So if you're really sneaky, you could sign up for our Patreon for $2 and then leave, or £2 I should say, and then leave. But don't do that. Stay in and come and join the Discord and all the other stuff that we get on behind the scenes. I do appreciate that probably paying your gas bill is probably more important than supporting us. But do feel free if you wish. Although we do have a lot of heartwarming jokes and such like on the Discord, so maybe that'll keep you warm during the winter months. Quite possibly not. But I digress. AgentsCon 2022. Market Harbour, what are we going to have there, Pete?
It's going to be loads of stuff. I think there's about 16 people are going to be going so far, including us. There's going to be loads of stuff because Aaron from Willen Games, they're going to be bringing some stuff. So there'll be a Moonstone table, there'll be a Marvel Crisis Protocol table. Obviously, some people might turn up with some Underworlds. There'll be Blitz Bowl. There'll be Bladeborn. We're going to bring Fireteam, various other games like that. People are bringing stuff, so other people are bringing their copies of Blitz Bowl and stuff like that. We've got a father-son combo will be coming along. Andrew and his dad are going to be turning up, which is going to be great fun. Zach Matthews just put in the comments he's got his ticket, so excellent. Be seeing you there, Zach. Looking forward to that. And yeah, it's just going to be loads of board games, loads of people hopefully just having a bit of a laugh playing some stuff. And I think Anonymous Jeff said he was bringing some games that you were looking forward to as well. Yeah,
he's definitely bringing some Moonstone stuff, but he is going to bring Cult Express to play, which apparently I think plays quite a lot. And Zach says Aeronautica. Well, our Aeronautica expert John Grant isn't coming up till later because he's got to do something for work or something. But he says I will arrive right after work. So we could probably we could bring in some Aeronautica.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some stuff painted up, haven't we? We've got the Necrons and the Orcs and some other bits. We could bring them and set them up on the table.
I can't remember how to play it, but we can bring the stuff. I really, really, really want to play with Andrew a board game. I'm really into board games at the moment, more tabletop games, I must confess. But he has not gone on, that sounds a bit. He has talked up and says it's amazing. The Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, I think it's called. It's like the card game version of Terraforming Mars. I really want to play that with him. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. It's going to be great fun. There's lots of places to get food stuff around there as well, so there's no pressure on having to go out at certain times because we're not doing any kind of really high maintenance event type stuff. We're not doing a big tournament or anything like that deliberately because we are filthy casuals, so we want to have a filthy casual day. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, I'd be happy just to sit and talk. But we will play games too. Yeah, so because I said I've been enjoying board games, I've been playing loads. My kids suddenly, after years and years of me saying, "Do you want to play a board game?" They're going, "No." Suddenly we've been playing 2 or 3 board games a day. So I've been playing Marble, Dice Throne, Cascadia with them. 7 Wonders we just bought. I haven't played them.
I liked 7 Wonders. Did we play that with our old board game group?
We did, yeah. And I bought 7 Wonders Architects, which is like a slightly cut down version of it, which I can lend to you actually if you like, to see whether the kids would enjoy it, and they really did. And then it's on sale in Game at the moment. They've got 20% off. I picked it up for £27 or something crazy. So I bought 7 Wonders, and they really enjoy it. Even my 10-year-old really enjoys it. And we've bought a new game called Space Base, which we learned today for the first time, which is a bit like Machikoro, if you've ever played that. Nope. And so we've been playing all the games.
Nice.
Did you release any videos since the last?
The Battlemasters 4 came out, so we released that one. The finale will be coming out this weekend hopefully. Yeah, all done and dusted then.
There's been various 200 hours videos. I think we had a playthrough on the live stream, and I've done an unboxing, and I don't think you've released the last one yet, have you? You've got one more.
No, we haven't released the Our Thoughts video. Maybe try and get that on Friday or something like that.
Cool. Friday's a good day for a thought. Coming up, excitingly, we're back to our roots on Thursday. Wednesday
this week.
Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, we're playing Underworld live tomorrow, so you can see me.
That's Wednesday the 10th for anybody listening on the podcast.
Yes, that's true.
Probably already gone.
Probably already happened because the podcast might not get out because I'm busy tomorrow. But you'll be able to go and watch the live stream after the fact. So we're going to play. I think we're playing Wild Hunt versus. I can't remember who you're going to bring.
I'm probably going to bring Skittershank's Claw Pack because it's Skaven, and
Because you
I've got
can't
to do that. Yeah.
So, and I'm going to bring one of the Rivals decks from the White Dwarf, and you're just playing. Are you playing the standard?
I'll probably, I think I'm just going to play the standard Rivals because we're definitely more Rivals players these days.
Yeah, yeah. What else have we got coming? I think we've definitely got some Moonstone coming. You've got the Battle Masters finale you're going to release, you just said. And I'm going to try and tempt Pete on our Tuesday night board game. So alternate Tuesdays, hopefully, in between the podcast episode recording these live chats, we're going to do some board games. I'm going to try and tempt Pete to play Marvel Dice Throw and any other games I can find that I like the look of. I'm trying to tempt him. Marvel Dice Throne is coming, and like I say, some Warhammer Underworlds, and then probably some Middle Earth somewhere in our future.
I've got goblins. I've mostly finished the goblins. I need to base them, so I've got some goblins there to go, and I did the Wild Riders, so maybe we need to do like a triple warband threat match type thing, have 3 warbands each or something.
What, like in a campaign or a whole game?
That's true. Yeah, just all in one, like
War.
3 each type thing.
Oh my, I'm not sure my brain coped with that.
I just know what we're like with campaigns. We're rubbish with campaigns. All the bits in between.
I don't mind. I don't mind certainly trying 2. 3 just might blow my tiny mind.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
James Powditch asks, "Are we going to pick up the new Witch Hunters for Underworlds?" I mean, maybe.
I couldn't possibly comment on whether after our live stream tomorrow, Pete and I are going to play a game of Hexbanes versus something. We might. We'll have to wait and see. And,
if there is, then that would possibly be coming out on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock or whenever the normal sort of cut-off is.
I may or may not have been furiously painting the Hexbanes this week in between board gaming and wrangling the children. Yes, we are. In short answer to that question, yes, we will have a copy of the Hexbanes for you to enjoy.
Hopefully people enjoy that game. It will be recorded live again so that we can have it recorded and ready to put out Saturday morning, so hopefully people enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The question is, what should we play against the Hexbane in that matchup? That's the question.
Ooh,
I was thinking maybe the Orcs, maybe the Cunning Crew, maybe, or something like that.
Cunning Crew. I just assumed you were going to play Skaven. I assumed you just switched to default mode and we'll just play if you're turning up. What are we playing? Well, this game's a World War II game. I'm playing the Americans and you're playing the Skaven.
To be fair, they go in everything, to be honest. War Machine's in the house. Hello, War Machine.
Hello, War Machine.
And the only other thing that possibly might come along in the nearest future. Oh, that's right, Vampires. We were going to play the Crimson Court versus Hexbane. We would do.
Yes, that's what we were going to do. It was a proper. Yeah. Witch hunter.
A proper sort of. Yeah, witch huntery. Although it's not witches, is it? I mean, technically, I should play the witch elves because they're witches. They're more witches than the vampires. But we know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well,
the classic Van Helsing matchup.
They've all got stakes for Hexbane, haven't they? So I think the vampire. It's got to be the vampires.
I think so. Yeah.
It's got to be the vampires. I reckon.
And the other thing we were talking about mildly earlier, I think I might have been talking about more, was whether we get a bunch of all the different sort of tabletop games like the Warhammer Fantasy, Ninth Age, Oath. Is it Oathmark?
Oathmark, yeah.
All those kind of games.
Yeah.
Get a couple of small forces. You could get your Empire Bretonians together for a small force. I could get either the Skaven or something like that out of storage, and then try a game of each thing, and then do a comparison between all to see which ones we think are better, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, definitely sounds like the sort of thing we would talk about doing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we'd necessarily go any further than that, but I definitely want to try out some different games.
Let us know in the comments if you'd like to see something like that, because we would think about there's the one-page rules, there's various other systems out there.
Well, everybody chucks them at us. Somebody chucked us various different Battlemaster systems at us last week, didn't they, as well?
Oh, there's Battle Law, I think it was called, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we've got to check those out. And there's a bit of news about that later, but we're not about Battle Law, but we'll talk about that later. And then just finishing off our week, you were talking about your painting. I've been painting the vampire hunters, the witch hunters, and I haven't done much else because I've been busy, but I've been trying to up my basing game. Having looked at Tom on our Patreon and John, who's in tonight on our Patreon, their basing was just like, I don't know, much better than mine. I've been trying to improve my basing, getting basing materials and all that kind of stuff. And basically, it's like learning to paint again. And it's just like, oh well, that looks rubbish. I'm glad I got lots of glue and stuck myself together, and spent money on this, and it looks god awful. I'm really glad about that. So that's a learning curve that I'm going through, and it's very painful. The hex bays, luckily, have their own lovely bases, so I haven't had to do it.
I think Underworld's really spoiled us with that kind of thing, because for ages, all the models we got, the bases were pre-formed, so we didn't have to base them at all. And I've definitely got lazy with doing like the Moonstone ones. I don't know if anybody can sort of see that at home. The Moonstone Troll that I've done is I've just got some of the what's it called, the GW paint, the Sterling Battlemire or whatever it is, which is just mud, and just slapped a load of that on, and that's pretty much my go-to basing now these days.
I've been trying to make tufts. I don't know why I'm trying to do that, but that's what I've been trying to do. It's just painful.
I think it looks good if you can get it right. It looks really good.
Yeah, that's the key. The getting it right bit.
Yeah.
But never mind. But yeah, so the learning curve. So where I'm basically with my basing as I was with my painting about 5 years ago. So we'll see how we go. Yeah. So moving on, we normally at this point do a little community shout out.
Yep.
So you've got one, Pete, I think, about the Crit Wild app.
Yeah, I've got two actually. One other one just come to mind. James Powdish said Geek Gaming Scenics has some great basing products. Yeah, and I found some. I think somebody on our Patreon mentioned another one, and they did lots of different basing materials and things like muddy water and things like that. So I need to check them out as well. I can't remember what they were called now though. I did save a bunch in my Amazon wish list though, so I'll have to check those out. But,
yeah, I did.
Yes.
I did buy. I think I bought some Geek Gaming Scenics actually, and they're the things that I've got now to try out. Because having bought some of their stuff, I realised that the static grass that I bought was the wrong size. I didn't realise there were things you had to consider, but I just ordered a pack randomly, and it's too long. So I ordered some shorter stuff, and we'll go from there. Go see how we go. But then I was thinking whether to get a static grass applicator, and I sort of came out of my first session with the glue and stuff, looking like bloody abominable snowman. Green, yeah.
AK Interactive was the one I was looking at, so I might look at some of their materials.
Okay. Yeah, they've got some good stuff, I've heard. Yeah, so just watch the bases. Hopefully, get better. If not get any better at all. Obscure.
Just stay the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, community shout outs. The creator of there's an app which I believe is both on the iPhone and it's on the Apple and the Android store called Crit Wild, which is for MCP if you're an MCP player. And to start with, it was pretty basic, but he's added in like all of the fighters' cards are in there now, so you can get them all up in access in the app.
Okay.
You can create a group of your fighters in there, so you can have all the fighters that you're playing with immediately accessible. It's got links to all the references and things like that. It's got links to all of the it's even got all of the it's even got all of the like the tactics and stuff like that in there.
Okay.
And things, so you can go in and if you know what your tactics are, like you've got Charming Thief, which is gambits or whatever, you can have that stored in there, so you can then reference them and things like that. The only thing it doesn't have right now, I'm hoping they'll add it at some point. They do have a Patreon going, so you can go and find them on there, and if you want to try and get them to do more, is it doesn't have a way to track the energy or the power still.
Right.
The wounds or the power. So, yeah.
Cool.
But it's growing very steadily, very steadily growing.
Really
so
good.
that's good.
I have not looked at it. We haven't played MCP for a while, have we? So I haven't looked at it for a while, but should definitely be checking that out next time we play.
Yeah. And the other one I was thinking of is John Grant Miniatures, our own John Grant. He has started to do some battle reports for Aeronautica, so do check them out on John Grant Miniatures on YouTube.
Yeah, quite nifty solo play. I really like them. Aeronautica lends itself to that style of video, but they've done a good job considering he's just on his YouTube journey. Unlike us pros, we have absolutely no clue what we're doing. John just started out his journey, and quite impressive. Quite impressive first video.
Yeah, and the second one is much more of the same. So good quality, and it does a good talk through. So looking forward to seeing more from John on that one. Do check them out.
Absolutely. Actually, I've got a small thing. I try and overcompensate.
It's all right, Robin. It's okay.
It's not really a community shout out.
Just my therapist said it'd be good if I talked about it.
Because of my. Okay. I'll try that again. Cut!
I'm afraid we can't.
It's not really a shout out, but if you've signed up to Warhammer Plus all those months ago, nearly 12 months ago, and then have completely forgotten about it and not really done anything with it, you can soon claim you can claim your miniature pretty soon. Oh, I can claim mine pretty soon. I assume it's the same for everybody. So since we were there from day one. From the 25th of August, you can claim it. And bizarrely, I must have started paying. My payment should be collected on the 28th of August. So I need to cancel it before then too, because I'm on auto renewal. So, but yeah,
that's
just
worth
to let you know,
remembering.
don't forget you can get your free miniature soon if you've been doing Warhammer Plus.
I mean, I completely forgot about it after starting it, and I just completely forgot about it. So yeah.
Well, it's easy to forget about. I mean, I don't really think this is a subject for this evening, but I just it's been very poorly executed.
It's been quite forgettable.
Yeah,
I agree.
Much on there, and I think I know GW tend to be quite late in their kind of bigging up stuff, but I assume if people are going to be coming up to renewal, they really need to be singing about it again and reminding us that it exists. But anyway.
Yeah,
that's by and by. I think for me, I was interested to do it to get the figure. I mean, they haven't even, as far as I'm aware, they haven't even revealed what the figures are going to be for the next 12 months.
No, they haven't. There's been no mention about it at all yet.
You think they'd be telling people, well, don't cancel your subscription because you can get this free tease made or whatever you're going to get for it. Anyway, there you go. So moving on, we have news.
Shining stuff.
I've been very busy. I haven't really followed the news. I've been trying to follow as much Gen Con news as I could. Gen Con news, there's so much noise around Gen Con, it's quite hard to actually focus. Unless you happen to catch an announcement or something, it's very hard to find an announcement amongst the noise. But I did find a few. I was quite surprised GW didn't have a big reveal of some sort there. I believe that they showed off the kill team models there. But I think pre-pandemic, they had started to have a presence at Gen Con and announced something new. And then I think, never quite remember. I think the live stream announcements that they did in the last couple of years, I think coincided with Gen Con, and they sort of, but they haven't really said anything about Gen Con this time at all, which is interesting. I don't know whether that shows the shift in focus for them, or whether they just weren't sure about going all that way and were all fully masked up at the event. I don't know, but I'm not sure. But they were in there, so they did reveal the actual kill team models from the new Into the Dark box set, which look fab, I have to say. But it's quite interesting. I kind of thought, they look really, really good. And then I read some of the descriptions of the things that you could do in the game. And I thought, oh God, I remember I don't play it now. Yeah. But the models look amazing. And other news from GW, the War Cry's here.
The new War Cry,
lots of shiny stuff there. We don't have a copy, so I can't really comment on it. And then this weekend they did the
I'm kind of okay with that
announcement. Yeah, I think I was really keen for it, but we've just got so much going on, and I think had we got sent a copy, I think it would have been a nightmare actually, especially when you were away and poorly. I think I'd have been left with this box of Warcry stuff that I just couldn't do anything with. So I'm quite glad that in the end that we didn't get a copy. So they had the Lord of the Rings stream this weekend. possibly conspicuous for the fact that it didn't have a Rings of Power tie-in announcement, but maybe if they have got a tie-in for that, they're going to wait. I would have thought Amazon would be like, no, you can't reveal anything till it's actually been revealed in the show.
I do wonder. I don't think they're going to get anything this time around. I think Amazon are just doing their thing. They're like, no, we don't care about anybody else. We're just doing what we want.
I think you're probably right, actually, I have to say. But they did reveal a new Glorfindel model, which I suppose sort of ties in because he knocks around in that era. But that looks pretty nice.
He's all over the place.
I was very all up for that model until somebody pointed out that it was going to be in resin, and then I cooled on it a little. And then a new starter box for Gilead, I think, which looks pretty nice if you haven't got those models. And similarly, they do Warhost boxes now for each kind of, not each faction, but for a number of factions. They look quite cool, quite like those. I'm not sure which one I'd get if I was going to get one. Probably, if I was going to get one, it would have been the Rohan one, but I bought some more Rohan. I've got plenty of Rohan figures, so I probably wouldn't get that one, if that makes sense. Other news, all from Gen Con. Cubicle 7 had a really busy Gen Con. Cubicle 7 I love, company I absolutely love. They're lovely people there, and they make the most amazing products. And they announced a new Lustria book for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And they've got coming out, this wasn't announced there, but they've got coming out a Magic one, which I'm really interested to see. Not that I play the game, really, but I'm really interested to see, because I don't know if you remember, Pete, you possibly don't, because you're younger than me. When Wolfrup came out, the first book, there were various references throughout it, and through some of the early campaign books, to the Realms of Sorcery source book. They mentioned Realms of Chaos, and they mentioned Realms of Sorcery, and it never ever came out ever. So there's a reference to the Realm of Sorcery book, but it never ever came out. But they're doing it. It's called Winds of Magic, and so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Anyway, I digress. They also announced Champions of Chaos for Soulbound. So Soulbound is pretty cool the way they're doing it. So there's the Champions of Order, which is kind of like your standard Stormcast, all that kind of thing. And then they've now done Destruction, where you can play Orcs type characters, anybody from the Destruction, the Grand Alliance, and then the Chaos one. And I think there's going to be an Undead one too, if there isn't already. A Champions of Death. I can't remember. There might already have been Champions of Death. They've certainly been announced, I think. So that's pretty cool. And totally surprised and unlooked for, considering they already do Wrath and Glory, which is the 40k set. They announced that they're going to do a 40k RPG based on a D100 system, so similar to Wolfrup, called Imperium Maledictum, with stories focused on investigation and intrigue. And I have to say, I don't know whether it's just the shiny of all the things that they announced, that one was like, oh yeah, I'd love to play that. That's really quite interesting. I suppose it's also because I could draw, if I looked at that one, I could just draw a line across everything else and just focus on that, and it always feels like starting from the beginning is a little bit easier than starting in the middle.
There's just too much though, isn't there? It's just too many shiny things. There is too many shiny things. Yeah, more shiny things. Fantasy Flight Games announced a new game, but they didn't really give any details of it. It's going to be a board game rather than a card game, but it's called Dagger, like Shield. So Dagger with apostrophes after it, not apostrophes, full stops after each letter, because they acronymed everything, like Marvel Dagger.
Do. So it's the Defence Alliance for Global and Galactic Emergency Response. So God knows what that means, but there's going to be a book game for that. The thing I'm most excited about, and I don't think Pete is at all, but the thing I'm most excited about is that they Fantasy Flight Games demo the new Twilight Inscription game, which is based on Twilight Imperium, which I would love to play, but I'm now far too old and don't have the time or the brain power to play. But they're bringing out a roll and write version of it, which I'm fascinated by. I'm going to wait and see what the reviews are like, because it could be awful. The people who previewed it, who got a preview at Gen Con, were quite favourable, but I tend to find people when in that environment. Everything seems great, and you've got the people who've designed it or are promoting it, and they're very enthusiastic about it. It tends to give you a slight skewed impression of a game. So I'll wait and see what that's like. And finally, Pete, did you ever play the HeroScape game, or was it actually too late for you? Because it came out in 2004, so I never played it. I was about to
Probably
have children
too late
at that
for
point.
me. Yeah, 2004. I mean, I didn't have kids then, but I had only just moved into my own place. I think I was still into 40k in 2004.
Right, okay. So it's a hex-based fantasy game, which I've never played, but they're bringing it back. It was announced at Gen Con. HeroScape. It's another Avalon Hill, I think the original publishers of the game, Hasbro tie-in, like the Hero Quest game was.
Yeah.
So I think that... I don't know I think Hero Quest is now available to purchase normally, isn't it? Because they did it via a crowdfunding thing, which I wasn't really very happy about and didn't want to get involved in. So I'm reticent about that. But it sounds interesting. It's hexes, Pete. I know you like a hex.
I do like a good hex.
You do like a hex. What are you doing? You look like you're just starting to do tax return or something.
Yeah, I figured I'd get them out of the way now. I was just posting up, see if anybody out there listening is aware of any other new shiny things that are distracting them at the minute that we haven't already mentioned. It's always nice to hear of anything else people have seen.
John Grant says he thinks Rings of Power could be a bit shit. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It absolutely could be a bit shit, but I'm being quite positive about it. I don't think it will be, but absolutely it could be.
But that could be because you're a little bit biased. A bit like me and anything Skaven related.
I don't want it to be shit.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't know, because I don't actually like the Peter Jackson films that much.
I understood, I read that I think Tolkien wasn't a fan of the Peter Jackson films.
Tolkien was dead before they were made.
No, not Tolkien himself, his son. His son slash...
Yeah, no, I don't think
son.
he was, but I think, I think he was cut from the same cloth as his dad.
Yeah,
but again, we don't need to have this discussion, but I really enjoyed the Fellowship of the Ring, but the other ones, I think it's certainly Return of the King is too long. And I think, to be fair to Peter Jackson, I think it shows up the limitations of the book a little bit, or rather, the book is all about the description and I think that's brought to life very beautifully. But actually, the story when you boil it down, then isn't very good.
Yeah,
forgive me.
Yeah,
forgive me for my heinous, unpopular opinion there.
Because I think Tolkien and likewise his son wasn't a fan of lots of the. His son wasn't a fan of all the fight scenes and stuff that goes on in the films. It's like, well, you kind of need that in a film, where else no one's going to want to fucking watch it, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a film critique as a discussion for another evening. I think we didn't need Legolas sliding down things on his shield and elephants.
I'll agree with that one.
I'll agree with that one. Bollocks.
And the dwarf didn't need to be quite so much comedy relief as he was.
No, absolutely. I feel sorry for anybody born in Moria. So that seems like a really good time for our Marlowe moment.
Marlowe moment. So here's something which everyone might enjoy who's watching on the stream live now. Here's our Marlowe moment. See, I'm swaying because I can, and no one can see that on the podcast obviously, but I can see the animation on the screen, but I can't hear the music, but I know the music's there. Robin can't do either, so he's just sitting there like, I don't know what's going on.
I can see it if I watch the watch the feed, but I can't see it. I just sit there, I don't really know what's happening.
So there we go. It's time for our Marlowe moment. What is our Marlowe moment, Robin?
Well, our Marlowe moment this week, I was just reading John Grant's comment about the film. I have to say, John, I'm not going to go into that deep depth now, but I think The Fellowship's the best book too, so I think that's probably why I like the Fellowship film more. It's more personal stories, isn't it? Anyway, so our Marlowe moment this week is I've lost it. I've lost it. Where's it gone?
You lost ages ago.
It's in tiny writing. That's why it's like an eye test. Do you?
Well, you've got glasses. Put them on.
Well, I've left them in the house. I've got reading glasses everywhere. I should have put them on, shouldn't I? I've got reading glasses now, everybody. But I don't need them for this. Apart from this line here, which for some I copied and pasted it from another document, and it's tiny. Do you think board / card games are more or less accepted now? If so, why?
Ooh. So, I mean, card games, I think, to clarify, I think card games, we don't mean like gin rummy and patience and stuff like that.
Poker. No.
And poker and all those.
Underworlds and Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, with that kind of thing.
I think the answer has got to be yes.
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
Why? I don't know. I think it may just be that geeks now rule the world through IT, and so we can bring what we like to the table more easily. I also think it is that despite cost of living crisis, people have got more time and income to spend on their hobbies.
I don't know if they got more time, but they, depending on where you are. But yeah,
I think maybe they have. Even just things like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because maybe time is the wrong thing. Maybe time is the wrong thing. I'm just trying to think about my parents' generation.
Opportunity, maybe more opportunity.
Yeah.
For these kind of things.
I think there's more social conventions.
Shops that cater to these things.
I mean, my mum wouldn't have been geeky anyway, but my mum, and to a lesser extent my dad, spent an awful long time doing things that I consider to be utterly pointless, like washing the back step. And that kind of thing, and keeping the house absolutely spotless. Whereas I would much rather just sit down and play a game. And I would
my dad's thing was he would tinker in the shed for hours, tinkering away with just bits of wood and
that's
stuff, and
just
just come out.
Away from you lot.
Yeah, pretty much, 100%. So. John Grant says that Stranger Things made dads cool. I think it was even before that, and I think that it's just become
D&D. Yeah, I think it was before that.
D&D and stuff like that. It's just become pop culture, and like you say, I think a lot of people who are nerds playing D&D and Warhammer and stuff like that, they are now making movies and starring in movies and doing all that kind of stuff. And they've gone, you know what? Fuck it, I want to make a film about D&D, or I want to make a film about fantasy or role play, and even like the Lord of the Rings films helped massively in making those things much more pop culture.
Well, I think we've talked about it before. At one point, being into Star Wars was just a mark that you were a dweeb, whereas now Star Wars is just, if you're not into Star Wars, it's almost, well, what's the matter with you almost now?
It's almost like if you're into the Star Wars films, then you're just a sheep, and you're not cool enough to actually be into the real Star Wars people dress up and go to conventions or whatever it is like that, and now and look down on the people who just go
moan about how crap new Star Wars is. I think a bit
that's
a bit like Warhammer, which we'll come on to in a minute.
Yeah.
So
definitely, you're not a real fan unless you absolutely hate the thing that you're a fan of.
Yeah. So there you go, Andrew. I hope that helps answer your question. We could, again, it's a subject we could devote, like a lot of your questions actually, Andrew, it's a subject we could devote hours to.
A whole episode.
But I think generally it's just that I think people do have more free time for their pastimes, even if that then still makes them feel like they're really busy. I think people do generally have.
I think there's just more avenues.
I think the middle classes are bigger. I think most of us who play games are middle class.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there's definitely that aspect to it. And I think a part of it is just accessibility. It's much easier to get these games. It's much easier to produce them these days than it was days gone by. Yeah. And I think it's also people like Vin Diesel. He's a massive role play D&D nerd. And there's loads of celebrities now that are into that kind of thing. There's Vince Vaughn, I think it is. He has like a celebrity D&D thing that him and loads of other film stars and stuff get together and they play D&D and things like that. And it includes people like
as well.
Sorry.
There's old wardrobe as well, of course.
Yeah, obviously people like
Henry Cavill,
Superman.
Yeah.
And even people like I don't know if you know him, but The Big Show. He's a big wrestler. He's like a massive big guy called The Big Show for a reason. He's into role play. It's like it's hard to call someone a nerd when they're 7 foot tall and 500 pounds, because they might just put you through a wall.
I think the internet as well has helped, of course, because in the old days we were just the 6 people playing D&D in school or wherever, and nobody else did, and we were weird. Whereas the internet meant that those 6 people could find 6 people at the neighbouring school and that, a different school, and then gradually you realise that actually there's quite a lot of you, and then there's a few people who didn't want to do it because they'd be beaten up, but actually they quite like to do it, and actually now there's more of them, so that kind of attracts. And of course, the bigger the group gets, the more gravity it has, so the more it pulls people in. So
for good or for bad, it's definitely had that attraction.
Yeah, definitely. So
I think this will play into another point in a minute that we're going to be talking about, our main discussion point for the night. I think even companies like Games Workshop, because they're so embedded in culture now, it's like most people have heard about Games Workshop to an extent. Most people have seen the stores, they've seen things about the games, or they used to play them, or their kids play it now, or their friend plays it, or things like that. There are so many people.
Yeah, most people know what Warhammer is. If you say, and they may not have a good impression of it, but they know what it is. And I've noticed you get articles in, like, is it Daily Mash does them? Not Daily Mash. Some of them you get, or News Dump, you get articles about gas bills having to pay for people playing Warhammer don't worry about their gas bill kind of thing, because they used to pay
Wargamer hasn't noticed the increase in petrol because they're still paying £100 for 3 models from Games Workshop, whatever it is, that kind of thing.
So
and lots of because GW have made so much money in the last few years, they've done so well. They feature in Financial Times articles and stuff like that because they are a phenomenon at the minute.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful segue, though, Pete. That's a beautiful segue, because our main topic of discussion is pretty much exactly that. The Games Workshop have been making massive profits, which is brilliant.
Hand over fist.
But going back to the main topic, does Warhammer and the size of Warhammer and the size of Games Workshop, has that ruined everything?
Does it ruin everything?
Hyperbolic way of trying to attack clicks.
And it's important to say that we decided we want to discuss this because a lot of people on much bigger, more successful channels than us have done videos about this kind of topic recently, and there's a lot of different views out there, and people have come up with different points of view. Some people have stuck to their guns on what their channel's been built on and obviously blame GW for everything, and other people have given a much more nuanced approach to those kind of things, so we think we might as well give our tuppence worth as well.
Yes, definitely. Sorry, my computer was having a seizure, so I wasn't 100% listening. I think it's worth saying that where this kind of thought process started was with Blackjack Legacy's video about, I can't remember what he called it, but it was effectively how Warhammer,
like why Games Workshop is ruining my channel or something like that.
How it kind of shifts the focus of, well, not shifts the focus, but it's got such a big gravitational pull that it kind of warps everything that's in his channel. And he was sort of trying to come to terms with that, I think. And I think his video was pretty good.
There's another one done by...
Go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I don't think he wasn't particularly moaning. He's a very positive guy. I think he was just lamenting the fact that he couldn't focus on the games he wanted to and create an audience, which is a little bit what we're going to talk about tonight as well.
Yeah, and I watched one by a guy called MS Paint, which is, I can't remember the name of the gentleman who does it, but I think his videos are fantastic, and he's everything I would like to have been in a YouTuber. His videos are brilliant to watch. I don't know if you've watched them, but do... Sorry?
You've got the beard.
Yeah, well, that's true, but I haven't got the hair.
You're nearly there.
I definitely don't have the hair.
You haven't got, he's got a good accent as well, as you don't have. Sorry.
He has got a fantastic accent on him. Yeah. But his video on it was great because he was very matter of fact about it as well, and he certainly wasn't bemoaning his the state of things either, and did acknowledge that a lot of it was because of, that GW are huge, they are gigantic, and in the scheme of tabletop gaming, you've got Games Workshop is like a massive chunk of the pie, and then everybody else is a tiny little bit on the edge. Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit like Apple. And like I say, Google intersect with them, but Apple in certain markets they just take the whole lot of it. So it's an interesting one. I mean we are in a different position to both MS Paint and Blackjack Legacy, because they both do it for a living, don't they? And we don't do it for a living. So we can kind of make the videos we want. And Blackjack was sort of saying, well, I can't make if I don't put Warhammer in the video, even if I just say why this game I'm playing is better than Warhammer, he'll get a fraction of the views. And if he gets a fraction of the views, he gets a fraction of the money. And it's an interesting one. And that's not really Games Workshop's fault, I don't think. I mean, that's almost down to YouTube. There's another... The problem dovetails with the YouTube algorithm. If you put... I don't know whether it's coincidence. In the Oathmarks video I did, I put Old Hammer in the title. And that video did ridiculously better
For us, that did really well.
Normal videos. It wasn't a massive view count on YouTube scale things, but I don't know whether that's just because there was a little niche that are interested in Oathmark and it came up, or it's because Old Hammer is a keyword that ends up in people's inboxes.
I think it was the Old Hammer word, and it's I know when you did the title, I saw it and I thought he's being a bit cheeky there, because it had nothing to do with Old Hammer whatsoever. I don't think we even mentioned it during the video. I don't know if we even mentioned Warhammer, but I saw that and I just thought, I know what he's done, because we were talking about this subject around the time when you released that. I was like, I like it. I like what you've done. I can see what you're doing there, and it does have that much of an impact. But
of course, it makes the problem worse. Because what Blackjack was saying is that he has to, if he's going to do a video about I think what it's called, Mantic Games, Dead Zone. If he was going to make a video about Dead Zone, if he just says, "Here's a Dead Zone, here's some thoughts on this Dead Zone faction," he'll get sort of 1,000 views or whatever.
But not much.
And if he writes, "This is why the something faction from Dead Zone are better than the Kroot in Kill Team," he'll get 10,000 views. And so that makes the problem worse, because you end up mentioning the keywords that make the Warhammer, that drive the Warhammer content and make it more popular. So you kind of, even you can cheat a little bit and make it a bit clickbaity by comparing whatever you're doing to Warhammer, but all you're doing then is just adding to this burgeoning, rolling mass, like a ball rolling down the hill, smashing everything out of the way on the YouTube algorithm. So if you don't have Warhammer in your title, basically your game video is going to sink. Without trace, potentially.
And I know one of the videos I was watching, somebody was ranting about how GW don't mention anybody else in any of their literature. They almost try and create this little universe where it's just about Games Workshop and their stuff. And if you only read their stuff, you're only going to be aware of their stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, but there is Google. You could go on Google and find, like, it's not the 80s anymore. You can go online and find stuff about other games very easily, but also Games Workshop aren't in the business of selling other people's stuff. They're not going to go, you should buy our thing, but if not, you can go and buy something from Mantic instead. They don't care about Mantic or any other competitor. It's just buy our stuff. Our stuff is the only stuff.
That's a curious thing. I mean, they back in the day, they kind of did do that when they were the producers of White Dwarf, and White Dwarf had every game you can imagine in it. They did do that, but a long time ago, they ceased to be that company. I mean, a long time ago.
Well, aren't GW like the only games, like tabletop games type company that is listed on the stock exchange at the size that it is?
Certainly in the UK. Yeah.
So they have it's not like if you go to I can't remember the name of the guys who did God Tier. Steamforged. It's like, if you go to Steamforged, they have a fraction of the people, and the people who design the game and play the game and all that are probably very closely involved in lots of parts of the process. But that's not the same at GW. They've got a department for marketing, they've got a department for game design, they've got a team for just painting, and it's just a different scale, a different beast.
Yeah, and I mean, in the same way as when BMW don't say, "Oh, buy our BMW," but if you don't like a BMW, get an Audi instead. They don't do that. they don't acknowledge the existence of their competitors, and so I think that was a slightly spurious argument. I mean, it would be great if Games Workshop did say, there are all these lovely games out there, why not choose ours? But that just isn't the way the modern world works, and so I kind of feel like at the end of the day, everything is driven by the need to make money.
Yeah. And it's an interesting point you just also put in there about talking about the going into the stores and going in there into their shops and things. Games Workshop are the only company that have bricks and mortar shops selling their stuff. I think.
Yeah.
I can't think of
Yeah, I
anyone
think
else
so.
who has
then-
their own
yeah.
dedicated store.
No, yeah. Well, certainly a chain. The companies might have the odd one. I think Warlord have a shop, but
possibly.
It's in Nottingham. It's in Nottingham, next door to the factory, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not like Games Workshop where there's Warhammer stores all over the world.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. It's a slightly curious one. I mean, I feel for Blackjack. I completely understand what he's trying to do. He's not that interested by Games Workshop games, and to be honest, Pete and I, there's a lot of games that we're not interested in that Games Workshop make. I think Games Workshop popularity is partly because they are the biggest. So in the same way as everybody wears Nike trainers because everybody's got Nike trainers, you don't go off and try something else. And I think,
everyone's got Apple phones.
If you might think, we think Moonstone's a great game, but if you're trying to get into the gaming scene, you're only going to mostly see people playing Warhammer, and so it's a self-perpetuating. There's no point in playing Moonstone if you can't find anybody to play Moonstone with, and it is a shame. It is a shame that channels that play those type of games or play Mantic games can't get the footing that GW get. That is absolutely right, but I don't see a way around it because of the way YouTube works. Because YouTube promotes what it thinks people want to see, and it thinks people want to see Warhammer. Even though I would say 50% of Warhammer content that people gets watched, that's probably a bit unfair, but a decent slice of it is people moaning about it.
Yeah.
Which of course drives the algorithm too.
And I don't think that none of this comes down really to Games Workshop specifically. Part of it is consumerism because they've got to make money, they've got shareholders, they've got quarterly fiscal responsibilities they've got to meet, and all the rest of it, as well as their employees and all that kind of stuff they've got to pay.
As have Google and YouTube as well, of course, because they drive. They promote.
Yeah, it's the algorithm at the end of the day.
Yeah.
At the end of it all, if you want to make a video about football, do you cover the Premiership or do you cover the Sunday League? Which one's going to get more views here?
If you really, really love netball, you want to make netball videos, and you do, and you want to make a living out of it, and you can't because those bastard Premiership people on Match of the Day are taking all your viewers.
Exactly.
It's just, I totally feel for Blackjack and what he's trying to do, but at the end of the day, you just have to concede that netball doesn't get the viewers that football does.
Exactly.
Even if it's a better sport, it might be a better sport. I'm not sure. I can't really make a judgment what sports are better than football. But I suppose I feel sorry for a lot of the. We could totally go off a tangent now, but I love the Olympics. I think the Olympics are brilliant, and the Commonwealth Games are just happened brilliant. But you have to feel sorry for the people who train for 4 years, just literally they're 2 weeks in the sun where they do their event and everybody's interested in it, and then they sort of sharing common space with the tennis players who just are popular all year round. It's just kind of the same thing. Some things for whatever reason are more popular, and it doesn't mean they're better. They're just more popular.
Yeah, definitely. I certainly don't think that GW are the best game designers out there. Their models are pretty spectacular. I think other people are starting to catch up with them a bit on that in certain areas, but for the scale and the quality, I think GW is still miles ahead of everybody. The games themselves certainly aren't spectacular when it comes to rules in a lot of situations, and they do leave a lot to be desired in certain aspects, but they produce so much.
Sorry.
So I was going to say, they just produce so much. I mean, if you piled up all the stuff we've ever been given by GW to review or show on the channel versus everybody else, it wouldn't be a competition.
No, but of course that people would argue that makes it worse, and that's why GW do it, because they give away the stuff and it drives the algorithm, because we talk about Warhammer because we've been given the stuff.
That's true, but that's the algorithm's fault.
I can see that point of view, but they would say it's GW's fault because they know that's how the algorithm works. I could sort of see that, but then what would you do if you were in GW's position? We could do this, and that would give us an advantage in the marketplace. Should we do it? No, let's not bother because it's a bit unfair. I just don't know how you get around it. I mean, I guess the way you get around it is you just have to make the content that you want to make and hope for the best. And
stick to your guns, basically.
I appreciate that if you decide you want to make a living out of it, that makes it really difficult for you. I mean, we're really lucky that, in my case, I've got a wife who supports my endeavours, and you fit it around your job. We don't have to rely on the views to make money or the Patreon support. We love our Patreon support, but we don't rely on them to eat.
That's the same in anything though, isn't it? It's just like if you say, actually, I want to make wicker baskets out of willow that grows at the bottom of my garden. That's what I want to do for a job, and then complaining a couple of months later that you can't because those bastards at the garden centre sell them for $1.99, whereas you have to sell them for £16 each to be able to eat. Like that's life. You're just going to have to do something that makes you the money so that you can live to do the things that you enjoy as a hobby, not as an income.
No, absolutely. Deadhead Design. You've changed your name. You've added a design to it. It says he's pulled a lot of other companies up with it. It's pulled a lot of companies up. Rules, law, miniature quality. Their successes have grown the industry, not just for them, but everyone now. So as consumers, we win. That's completely true. I mean, the lead belt is a thing, isn't it? And that's because across Nottingham and Nottinghamshire, there are lots of little companies that have grown up from ex-GW employees and people who want to be close to the action. We've got our audio sounds a bit off, somebody said.
Yeah, unfortunately, because of the way we're recording it for the podcast, Robin's audio and the fact that he's on an iPad means his audio is a little bit worse than we'd like it to be. But unfortunately, because we can't make any money out of this channel, we can't buy any decent equipment, and that's Games Workshop's fault, basically.
Yeah,
at the
Games
end of the day.
Workshop's fault. So I'm sorry, it's Games Workshop's fault the audio's out. We did try doing it differently, didn't we? And basically, it didn't record the audio.
We did.
So
Your Mac can't. Your Mac can't do Discord and record the audio for the podcast at the same time. But if you do want, you can catch it up on the podcast later, and that will be much better levels of quality on that one. So hopefully we can sort something out in the nearest future.
Well, they say fair, which is good. Which is it's nice.
But thank you for the feedback. We do appreciate when people do give us the feedback as we go, because sometimes it's a nightmare when we get halfway through a show and then realise that something's not been working properly throughout. So we are keen to try and improve it where we can, and we'll see what we can do about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think overall, from what everybody's posted online, some people have been very open and honest about it. Blackjack, MS Paints, they've been very open and honest and basically said, what can you do if you know you're going to get 10 times the number of views if you do a video about Warhammer than Dead Zone or whatever else. If that's your income, you're going to have to do what makes you the money, and that's the problem with making something like this your job. You're going to have to start chasing the money.
That's the same with most jobs, isn't it? I suppose. I mean, if you work for Games Workshop and they said, "I'm afraid in order for us to pay you, we need you to design this game about Space Marines," you can't really turn around and go, "But Space Marines are shit, and I don't want to. I want to do this. I want to do this." So they go, "Well, we're paying you to do." I want to make That's kind of how jobs work. And just, I guess, if you work for yourself, you hope that you can do something you love and enjoy. But it doesn't work out that way for most people. The very few fortunate few can make a decent living off of doing what they really enjoy.
I think to blame Games Workshop for being so large and taking up such a large portion of the market, or for blaming Games Workshop for skewing YouTube viewing figures, to blame Games Workshop, I think, at all is quite a naive view to take, because they're are they £1 billion company now? I can't remember. They're huge.
I don't know.
They're a big company.
They're a big company.
They're a massive company. They want to make money.
Yeah, they have things that I don't particularly like the way they work, but I don't think this is one of them. It's just one of those things that they do take up the space, but as Deadhead says, they have helped foster a wider community and smaller games, and they will come up. Deadhead did the answer. He thinks the GW bubble will pop. I think you might be right. I don't think it'll ever completely burst. I don't think it's obviously inflated now to a massive level due to the pandemic. I think it will contract. I don't think they can keep making games at the rate in which they make them and keep people buying at the levels they have. That said,
I think they've managed it for like 10 years now, haven't they? 10 years, year on year, they've been making profits. I mean, a company like that, they're unicorns. You don't get that often, and they are in the industry. It's not like with Apple and iPhones; they have a lot of legitimate competitors, or BMW and Audi, or most other industries. There's not such a massive chokehold on the limelight, but GW in this sphere, it's like, who else do you go to?
It'd be interesting to see who suffers the most from the cost of living crisis. £250 million revenue a year, he says, because the cost of living crisis is going to squeeze everything. And funny enough, one at RNW just said, the average consumer, £180 for the ash waste box is a massive amount of money. And if they keep doing that, I think people will look for cheaper alternatives. I mean, if you can use your old figures and play a new game, will you do that? Quite possibly. You could pick up the rule book for Oathmark and use everything you've already got, or the one I've just been looking at, the Lion Rampant, and you need about 30 models, and you can play a game, and you can get them from cheaper sources.
One thing that I think. Go on.
But you've got to be able to find those things, and I think unless you're in the know, it's very hard to find the stuff.
Yeah. One of the things I think that keeps GW on top and keeps them so far ahead of everyone else is that and it's a bit like in YouTube in general, if you find a big YouTube channel, it's probably because they've been around 10 years plus, because they were around near the start of YouTube when things were starting. They were one of the startups. And who can argue that GW aren't like one of the original startups? They started in the 80s. A lot of people, GW is what they grew up with. It's their childhood. And if they leave the hobby for a while, as we have both, and several of our patrons have, when you come back to the hobby, quite often you gravitate back to what you know. You know about GW, and that's a massive factor for them to be able to constantly key on to. That's just something that people always realise. And when other competitors gain any kind of limelight at all, it kind of just gives GW more limelight as well, because people see the figures, they maybe don't understand much of it, but they go, oh, those Games Workshop things, aren't they? Because it's a bit like Hoovers, vacuum cleaners, but the name Hoover has become synonymous with them. So little plastic toy soldiers, Games Workshop has become those are those Warhammer things. And you might turn around and go, no, it's Mantic. Do you know nothing? This is War Machine. It's Warhammers. Shut up.
Yeah. Although, of course, Hoover now aren't the biggest Hoover manufacturer, are they?
No, but you still call it Hoover. I still tell the wife, go and get the Hoover, but I've got a Dyson.
That's true. So that might mean you still were going to play Warhammer, but actually play something else, maybe in the future. Who knows? John makes a really good point, which they're diversifying as well, which is stabilising the income. And not only does it stabilise the income, it also means that they're more well known. So you've got, in a way that was never the case when we were younger, there would be people who come into the games through the digital game side of it, for example, and they obviously have many more kind of product tie-ins now as well, don't they? They've licensed all sorts of licensed products for them. I'm waiting for my Space Marine salt and pepper shakers, Victor, what's he got?
How many other like tabletop gaming people have little action figures of their models?
Not many. I'm going to go with not many.
Not many. In fact, I think it was Discourse Miniatures was mentioning on her video about it, that she said she got into Games Workshop because she first started off as a fan of things like Dawn of War and other digital games. She never knew about the tabletop game at all. And then she found out about the tabletop game later on, and then for 10 years all she knew was Games Workshop, and that seems to be one of the reasons why she hates them now, because she never found out about anything else, and now there's loads of other things out there, and she's like, I never want to have anything nice to do with GW ever again because I spent 10 years with them or something. Like, well, that's your fault. You could have gone any time you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why I could see why 10 years only playing Games Workshop might turn you off. But because we've found something similar with Underworld. We played a lot of Underworld, and now just like, Underworld. I mean, I think that's an interesting one, isn't it? That she didn't look beyond the Games Workshop box.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I didn't for like 2 decades, or possibly even more. I didn't bother looking beyond the GW sphere. I don't care. And now we play, and now we play loads of other stuff. You know, we've got MCP, we've got Moonstone, all things that weren't available 10, 15 years ago easily. But it's like, I don't begrudge GW for that. You know, they were just doing what they were going to do, which is they're just going to keep trying to keep you for as long as humanly possible.
Here's a wild thought. And I've forgotten it again. That's how wild it was.
Well, no, I was just, if it comes back to you, John Grant's... Go on.
Go on. No, you say.
I was going to say, John Grant's mentioned about Henry Cavill talking about on TV. What big up can you get for your company than someone like Henry Cavill saying, oh yeah, I do Warhammers. Loads of people are suddenly going to go, well, I'm going to fucking do some Warhammers then. Because then I can be like Henry Cavill.
I want to get acting chops like Henry Cavill.
Exactly. So to be fair, if you read all of GW's literature, then you'll probably have all the acting chops direction you need to be just like Henry Cavill. But
possibly so. Possibly so. I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. I had an epiphany there, and it's gone. It was to do with diversity. Not diversity of player, but diversity of range. And I that's what I was going to say. Almost, because there are so many little companies now and so many little games, I almost wonder whether that plays into GW's hands, because the people who don't play GW are fragmented across a million systems. Sounds like a line from a space opera, but they, you've got people who play Mantic, people who play the Osprey games, people who play Warlord stuff, and they all play their own little thing. Yeah. And actually, when you get jaded with that, or when you can't get a big community because there's so many other people, you just probably end up just drifting back to Games Workshop, because that's what everybody plays, that's where most of us started, and you just kind of you try and get out, you can't get enough interest in the game you want to play, so you just end up going back.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Exactly. So I suppose you could say in that respect Warhammer ruined stuff, because there are lots of really great games out there that that don't get attention. And I think GW, and they don't need to do this, so I understand why they don't do it, where I think GW are lazy is that their rules writing is really quite poor in places, but they don't need to care. So I suppose I was thinking about today, it's a bit like Henry Ford, the famous quote about Henry Ford, which is basically the rest of the car only needs to survive as long as the weakest part. The other things don't need to be over-engineered, because, and it's a bit like that. They don't need to make good rules because they sell the models anyway. So why bother? Yeah. Why bother investing? It's a bit like campaign systems. I've talked about this before. When they invent campaign systems, they don't really need to invent a good campaign system. They're never going to do not that I've ever really played it, so I don't know how good or bad it is, but I know people love it. They're never going to do a great Mordheim campaign system, because they don't need to. Because the people who really want to do that go and do it themselves, and everybody else just makes do with what they've got. I'm not saying the Warcry system is bad, but they don't need to have an all singing, all dancing one.
They've got no pressure to do anything better, because why bother? Someone else can do that for them. They just need to make the models and the money.
Yeah.
But I think all this comes down to we're just saying the same thing really. Yes, GW are big, but they have many reasons for being big. They've done a lot to get to where they are, and it's not like they've been they haven't had to try to force other people out the market. They just continue being successful and huge, and because of that, that's what people want to see on YouTube. And if your job on YouTube is making money about games, you're going to have to copy or cover the popular games.
Yeah, and YouTube creates its own little bizarre little things, doesn't it? Craig Johnson here was saying, we should definitely play more Mantic games, and I think we'd like to play more Mantic games, but nobody really watches them. And whether you like it or not, or not whether you like it or not, whether I'd like to admit it or not, whether that's what I meant to say, whether I'd like to admit it or not, it's nice to get 1,000 views rather than 100 views. So
yeah. Especially if the amount of effort you put into the video is the same.
Yeah,
if you're going to spend 5 hours recording and editing a video, would you rather get 100 views at the end or 1,000 views?
Yeah, and it almost, in a bizarre way, and this is YouTube's fault, again, rather than Games Workshop's fault, in a bizarre way, that actually becomes more important than the enjoyment of the actual recording of the game, almost, in a bizarre sort of way. If we were just playing... If we were just playing for ourselves, I don't know what we'd pick to play now.
Well, we're kind of getting there, aren't we? Because we've given up chasing numbers. We've given up trying to be big because we don't have to be, and frankly, the effort that would be required is just way beyond anything we're interested in putting in. So we're just going to do what we enjoy. And now we are getting to that point where we're going to go, well, what are we going to play now then? What do we do next? Because we'll play a bit of Underworlds if a new Warband comes out, just to show it off, because it's Underworlds and we always used to do that. But yeah, what do we do? We're going to do board games. Are we going to do, what are we going to do?
Actually, at the moment, I've almost, and I don't think this applies to you, but I think I've almost fallen out of love with miniatures games. Not out of love, that's the wrong, but I want to try a few different things just to vary stuff up a little bit. I think that's a slightly different issue. But I think it's interesting because we're not chasing views, yet behind the scenes we still have discussions about what we could play that might get views, if that makes sense. And we still...
It does still play on our minds.
Exactly.
It's like when we did Cascadia, it's like, we'll do Cascadia, but we're probably not going to get many views out of it. It's like, okay, if we don't care about views, why even say that?
Exactly, and I think we will pick. We won't just play. I can't think of an example of something we could play that we really love that wouldn't get any views. But I think so. It's a really interesting one. That's kind of. I don't know. I suppose at the end of the day, you don't want to spend effort making a product that nobody's going to be interested in. Just it's true of any job. I mean, I every time somebody says, "Oh, you should play this game," like Craig just said, "Oh, we should play more Mantic games." I'm like, yes, we should. We totally should. I always feel for that. I really want to. That's because I'm a pleaser. I want to please. I want to please Craig. And he says more Lord of the Rings coverage. Yes, I would like to. I definitely want to do more Lord of the Rings coverage.
Seth Levine has said Bladeborn campaign. Like all these kind of things are options that are just bouncing around. Like, but which one do we do?
Craig now says, and is now logged off, shut his computer down and changed all his passwords. So I just, it's interesting. Cause I did enjoy the Mantic games we played, but I think I thought and it's partly a quality issue. I think to get to the point where I would be happy with the Mantic content we were making on a regular basis would require more effort than I wanted to put in to any one game, not just Mantic games. Do you know what I mean? Because there's that as well, isn't there? If you want to become an expert in something, you've got to up the game. You've got to play it a lot, and I wasn't prepared to.
Definitely. Mike Jones really says, sorry, but I can't understand you guys. It's also a little weird that a channel that has benefited so much from Warhammer would now attack it. I mean, we're not attacking it by any stretch. I think we've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. There are certain aspects of it we like and certain aspects we don't like. But I wouldn't say we're attacking Warhammer. In fact, if anything, I think we've probably been saying more in its defence during this show than a lot of other people online.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't. It's interesting. I mean, Underworlds is really where our success, if you like, has come from.
But even that's gone now, to be honest. I don't think anybody cares about our Underworlds content for the most part. There's a few people, I'm sure people watching or listening to this now will go, I care about it. But it's like, 10 people does not a channel make. And so, we had to make that decision at some point.
But we've never really enjoyed Warhammer. For AOS, sorry.
So Mike Jones has just said, if I say someone ruins everything, that's not complimentary. You kind of need to listen to everything we've said, because the title was deliberately a little bit, but it is a question mark. If you look, we say, does Warhammer ruin everything? And we've actually said during this show, no, we don't think it does.
It's money. It's always money, John.
It's Mike, money, sorry. Yes.
It's always money. Money ruins everything.
Our summary is actually, GW is just doing what any company's going to do. They're very successful, and actually it's more YouTube and capitalism that ruins everything, not Warhammer.
YouTube are the biggest streaming video service in the world, and Games Workshop are not quite the biggest games company, but let's arguably say they're the biggest tabletop games company in the world. And those two things mean that they have a big slice of the pie, and they get to dictate what's in that pie and how often we eat it, almost. I think so. I think GW, the size of them causes some problems, but it's not really GW's fault. It's just doing what GW does. It's just it's the biggest whale in the shark pond or something.
And as Sterling's just put in there as well, that he thinks one of the reasons a lot of people stick to GW is because they have so much diversity in the types of games they do, which is true. If you are just in the GW sphere, not only have you got Age of Sigmar and 40k, the big games out there, but you've got Blitz Bowl and Blade Board and and Underworlds and Warcry and all that kind of stuff. There's so much that you could do. You could easily rattle around in the Games Workshop sphere for your entire hobby life and not be that fazed by it. And if you did, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to tell people, oh, you shouldn't play Games Workshop because they're rubbish, because that's patently not true. They're obviously not that rubbish because they're huge. I don't think they're the best rules writers out there, but a lot of people disagree with me on that one because they love the rules the way they're written. But if that's what you want to do, if all you want to play is GW, and you're like, I'm not interested in anything that's not GW, that's your decision to make, and I'm not going to, try and convince people otherwise.
I don't know whether this analogy works. I was just thinking about McDonald's. McDonald's are huge.
Yeah.
And everybody uses them sometimes, but nobody would want to eat there all the time.
Exactly.
But they're not ruining food in the same way as Games Workshop aren't ruining games.
No. But if you did if you wanted to do videos about fast food, you would cover things like KFC and Burger King and McDonald's and Subway, because they're the giants. You're not going to talk very often about some little mum and pup shop up the road or something like that.
Food. I would almost disagree with you there. We're getting right off topic now, but I would almost disagree with you there, because I think there's a huge following for people who love food and want to know weird and wonderful places to eat food, and they'd be really interested. Like food blogs and things are really popular. But if you try to do that with Warhammer or role-playing games, I think unless you were known to be an absolute expert, I think you'd get almost zero coverage or followership.
Yeah. And another thing, actually,
that's a beautiful quote from Deadheads. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt.
The bigger the sphere, the greater the gravity generated. Smaller moons will be there. People just need to look out for that. It's very true.
Yeah, very true.
Well, McDonald's not ruining food. That's subjective, says VJ. But their specific food that they give you.
Yeah, that's ruined.
Yeah,
but
the burger that you buy from McDonald's is pretty shite. But you know what? Sometimes they just do the job that you need to do at the time. But they don't ruin burgers. I'm sure if you decide to go to somewhere else, you're going to get a very nice burger from lots of other places. But GW just do their thing. So
I like this food/GW collaboration battle for McCrag.
And I do think that, I know we haven't got very long left, but I just want to touch on a point that I think Games Workshop seem to create this, and you get it in a lot of other spheres as well. There's a frothing at the gills sort of fandom about them, that people love them, people hate them, people love to hate them. It's a bit like iPhones and Androids. It's funny how people can be so ambivalent about world hunger and war and famine and death. But if you tell someone, I only use Android phone, someone's going to call you a fucker and try and punch you in the face because you don't have an Apple phone or whatever. It's like,
now I've got to reset the podcast thing to a different rating now. We did so well.
It's like, it's like people care so much about something that does not matter at all. It's like, if you don't like Games Workshop, don't play with it. Just do something else. No one cares. But if you mention online, I only play Games Workshop games, suddenly that makes you worse than a pedophile to some people, because they're like, oh, how can you like Games Workshop?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
But also vice versa. If you dare say that you don't like it, so you get pilloried too. Or if you say you like it, Yeah.
It's either way. I mean, I think anybody who's just going to form a single point of view on something, I hate GW and everything they do, or I love GW and everything they do, either end of the spectrum, I think it's a bit of a circle. You come around to the same point, you're an arsehole either way. You need, there's nothing's black and white. People don't hate everything about something. There are aspects, unless they've just decided I'm going to dislike them because they're who they are, in which case, why are you taking that kind of point of view on something that really doesn't matter?
Absolutely. We've got a philosophical discussion going off in the comments.
Mike Jones really says some of us only play GW because that's all that's available in our area, and that only plays certain games. We don't even have a shop. Yeah, and we did mention that earlier, that sometimes it's easier to go with the thing that you're going to at least be able to find opponents with and be able to play games than that niche game which has like 2 people who play it in the world.
If Games Workshop's the only place to eat in town, then you go there. I meant to say McDonald's then, but that's that's the place that that's the only place you can go to get what you need. Then you've got to go there, whether you like it or whether there is something better. There's no point in having the best game in the world if you've got nobody to play it with.
Exactly, and if you have produced the best game in the world, but you can only buy it in Australia or wherever, then and it costs.
I'd be very happy.
Yeah, exactly. But if you produce something and nobody can get hold of it, you may as well not have bothered producing it at all. It's why companies like Games Workshop and Amazon and Google have become so rich, because they can make it so easy to get their stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Amazon did a massive job at taking out a lot of video piracy, just because so many people found it so much easier just to go onto Amazon on their box and just go, I'll buy this film, I'm going to type in my code, I can watch the film now, rather than I'm going to try and find a video to download, make sure I've got a decent version of it that's not got dodgy subtitles or some shot at the back of the cinema thing, blah blah blah. It's like, just make it easy to buy and you're going to be the most popular.
Yeah, definitely. So look forward to downloading your miniatures. Oh no, hang on. 3D printing, that's another conversation for another evening. So I think in summary, then, what it means for us is, we're in a fortunate position that we don't rely on for our income, for our livelihood, so we can kind of play whatever we want, and that's really what we've been saying for the last few weeks and months, that we are going to play. What we feel like, and that will probably be all sorts of different games, chopping and changing, getting distracted by whatever new shiny stuff is. The Games Workshop marketing department is brilliant for that. Whenever they announce something new, I'm always, oh, that looks really good, even though I know probably I won't fully enjoy it or be able to commit to it. But yeah, so I don't think Games Workshop are ruining the hobby. I think there are, like all the things, there are elements that I don't like, and there are elements that I do like, and they're the biggest fish in the pond. And as somebody said, their gravitational pull is massive. Combined with the gravitational pull in the YouTube algorithm, and smaller things don't have a chance. But I don't think there's very much we can do about it.
No, there's not. I mean, VJ Morph has put a thing saying, paint up, be the evangelical hobby pioneer amongst your friends, and paint up 2 small forces and teach people to play the new games. If you don't evangelise, nothing changes. Yeah, but I can't be arsed with that. If I go, oh, it's a really great game, do you want to play it? And everyone goes, no, I want to play Warhammer, then I'm just going, all right, fine, I'll play Warhammer then. Because what's the point in trying to fight with people? If people want to try it, great, but I'm not going to sit there arguing with people all day.
No, you have to bear in mind that I pretty much only play with my Pete and my kids. So and they won't play Warhammer or any other miniatures games.
Yeah, if you want to do that kind of thing, that's great, then be the change you want to see in the world, try and get people to do other stuff, but at the same time, YouTube don't care about that. YouTube care about the numbers, and the numbers are firmly pointing towards Games Workshop. So if you want to produce YouTube content for gaming, it's going to have to be Games Workshop centric if you want to make money.
I like to think that once we've got them painted up, we will be able to persuade people to play Moonstone, and I like to think we can start to get a bit of a Moonstone community going. But we do need to play it again in order to do that.
See, I'm hearing Moonstone, but I'm thinking Underworlds. I think whatever we do, we're just going to have to just do what we want, and that's it.
Absolutely. Because I'm just thinking about the Lion Rampant warband I want to make.
Well, that's the thing. I think maybe we should do our comparison video that we were talking about. We should try some different, like Oathmark. John's talked about he's doing that with Oathmark. VJ says there are other channels doing well now, not covering GW. I mean, well is kind of debatable if you compare them to the channels who cover Games Workshop. I think you'll find the numbers are probably still very skewed, but you know, that's a maths game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yes, and there are always exceptions as well.
Yeah.
But in summary, Games Workshop are not ruining everything. So, Mike Jones, I'm sorry if we gave that impression that we thought they were ruining everything. They're not ruining everything.
No.
They're just
It's not Games Workshop, it's capitalism and YouTube and the algorithms, but that's life.
Yeah.
That's the same in everything. And there's not much that any of us can do much about it. Just get on with your own life and enjoy what you're doing.
Just always have a GW Mini in your thumbnail. Yeah, that pretty much wins. Or just mention. I think you just have to mention Warhammer in some way.
I think every time we do something like Oathmark, or you know, if we decide to do, I can't remember the lion thingy game that you were talking about just now. The Ramparts or whatever it is.
Yeah, Ryan Rampart. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because Blackjack talked about that in his video, where you know you don't really want to compare it to Warhammer, but if you do it, you know you'll get better hits.
Yeah.
And it's really. I kind of know what he means. You do feel a bit dirty doing it.
Yeah.
Well, not as dirty as the messages you've just deleted, Pete.
Disgusting, filthy. I'm certainly not going to go and visit those websites and check them out.
Check out how they managed to leave comments on your site. So it's 11 o'clock, people. Thank you for listening. I hope that was interesting and enjoyable and what have you. Yeah, it's a fascinating subject, I think. Yeah, we'll go. I'm sure. Hopefully, we get some comments after the fact when we upload it, and we'll continue to try and play as many different games as we can, and just enjoy what we're doing. I think that's the main thing. I've just really enjoyed what we've been doing lately. So that's kind of the main thing, isn't it? It's kind of.
I think the live streaming takes a lot of the pressure off because we don't have to worry about. There's no faffing around with editing afterwards, so we haven't got to waste time on that. If we do a video and no one cares about it, well, it doesn't matter. We've done the video; it's gone, it's past. We don't have to.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like sitting there for hours and hours afterwards editing a video. I'm sitting there thinking 3 people are going to watch this.
Yeah.
What's the point?
And it weirdly, because I have this analysis paralysis problem, which I still do have on the live stream, but it has taken the stress out of it more. I think because it doesn't matter if I don't play the right thing, then it's too late. I haven't played the right thing. Whereas in theory, if we're playing a game, you could edit it to not make me look like an idiot, kind of thing. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, very strange. There we go. VJ says that the live streams and seeing us switching it up has rekindled his interest in following the channel. Well, that's good. Thank you very much, VJ Morph. And Alt-Tim says, well, Tim is happy for 10 people to watch his videos. I know what you mean, Alt-Tim. It's just, sometimes you just don't want to somebody watch.
You haven't been around on the chat so much, so I didn't know you were still making them. If you are, do chuck links on the Discord so we can see them.
Yes, definitely. Definitely check them on the Discord. And don't forget about our Agents Con 22. Yes, looking forward to that. September 24th. Tickets are available via Will and Games now. Or if in doubt, check us a message on Facebook and we'll point you in the right direction. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you everybody listening on the podcast. I don't really know how you comment and send us things on podcasts to tell us because I don't just go to Facebook.
But go to Facebook and
comment on there.
We're always around
or tweet
on
us.
Facebook. And come and say hello. Tweet, yeah, we're good. Yeah, brilliant. All right then. Oh.
See you all soon. Stay safe. We'll see you in a couple of weeks because Robin's going off to do some things. He's not going to be around for a week, so be a fortnight's time. We'll catch up again.
Time we'll be back. So from a podcast perspective, it won't have changed, and from the live stream perspective, it won't change.
Yes, and don't forget tomorrow night. Anybody who's around, we will be playing Underworlds.
Yes, we will be playing Underworlds tomorrow from around 9ish. John says he's won every solo game he's played so far. Well done, John.
But he's also lost every solo game as well.
Or has he?
Ooh. So stay safe, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.